Happy Wednesday! Today we're going to be doing an activity on text features, and it's going to be text features introduction. So I want you to think about this and remember that good readers use text features to locate key facts and information in a text quickly. We're going to be looking at text features in non-fiction text. So you're probably thinking, what is she talking about? A text feature. So think about it like this. A feature is kind of like a characteristic or the way something looks on the outside. So a feature that I have is I have brown hair. That's one of my features. Or a feature that I have is I have green eyes. That's a feature. So when we think about our features, it's like the way something looks. And authors of nonfiction texts include this to help kind of make things make more sense. So we're going to look at some examples of text features right now. The first one we're going to look at is a title page. And we've all seen a title page in a book. A title page is the page that just kind of says the title again, and it says the author and the illustrator. So it's the page inside a book that tells the title and publisher information. So it kind of looks a little bit like the cover often. Okay, so often in nonfiction informational text, we can see charts. Now, here's an example of a tally chart, and here's another chart. And charts give us more information about data, and it just helps different pieces of the text make more sense. Now, I know we've all seen this one, a table of contents. And table of contents is often found in the beginning of a book, usually probably after the title page. And it's kind of like a cheat sheet. So it's like, it tells us the chapter. So if I wanted to learn just about Gus and the bus, then I could just go right to page 7. An index. The index is kind of like the table of contents. It's located in the back of the book, and it lists words in alphabetical order, which means A through Z, that you might find within the text. And then it tells you what page. So if I wanted to find where the text mentioned bees, I could go to page 6 and also to page 100. If I wanted to find where the text mentioned grass, I could go to page 6 and page 10. Okay, so this one, the hyperlink, is a digital link in a piece of informational text that takes you to another location, such as a website. So often in the back of informational text, you'll find a hyperlink located near the index. And it's just a spot where you can find more resources on the same topic. So if you wanted to find out more. So this says, read more about African animals. If you'd like to find more information about African animals, visit National Geographic Kids to read more. So usually they'll list like a website. Okay, icon is a picture on a computer or digital device that opens an application, file, or website. So it kind of represents something. So it's like a symbol. So we know what these symbols all mean. And you often will find, your apps on like an iPad or any other kind of tablet. Those are all symbols or icons that represent something else. Glossary. So we know what a glossary is. A glossary is located in the back of a book near the index, and it lists the vocabulary words in the text A through Z in alphabetical order, and then it tells you what they mean. So it's kind of like a mini dictionary for the important words within the text. A heading. Do you see where the arrows are pointing to the heading? The heading is like another title, a title within the chapter or within the specific location. And see, it tells us, this one says all about fish, so we know that we're going to read underneath that all about fish. So guide words are at the top of a page in a dictionary, and it shows you what words are going to be on that page. So at the top, this says age through apple. So we know that on that page, we're going to find the words age through apples and their meanings. So it says the words at the top of the dictionary page that let you know which words appear on that page. So age through apple, we know that we wouldn't find bear on that page because it doesn't fall between age and apple. Keyword. Oh, we often see keywords. We see keywords all the time when we are reading nonfiction text. And they're words that are in the text that are important. They can be in bold, italics, or in color. And they're just words that they want you to stand out. That the author wants to stand out. They're vocabulary words. So this says, we see fish, brackish water, gills, and temperature are all in italics, which means kind of slanted. And they're all red. That means that they're important. The author wants them to stand out. Illustration and photograph. When we read fiction text, we also see illustrations, which are drawings. And when we read nonfiction or informational text, we get to see real photographs. So think back to when I read to you on Monday the book about spiders. It was full of real photographs, real pictures, real life pictures. When you are reading a nonfiction text or informational text and you are reading to learn, it usually is going to be full of photographs. Whereas our fiction stories that we read for fun are usually full of illustrations. Okay, cool. Timeline. A timeline is a diagram that shows events in chronological order. So chronological is kind of like a fancy word for sequence, first through last. So this is an example of a timeline for the life of George Washington. And earlier on, in one of our first weeks of distance learning, we learned about timelines when we did past and present and social studies. So I hope right now you are actually making connection as well. And the example they give us is the life of George Washington. And actually, we learned about George Washington around President's Day. So some of these events you may even remember. So it says George Washington was born, and that was in 1732. Then it says George marries Martha Custis on January 6th. Oh, I made a connection. On January 6th in 1759. George Washington is elected President of the United States in 1782. And I want you right now to test your knowledge, test your memory. Do you remember how many years he was president? How many years was George Washington president? And I also want you to think, did George Washington live in the White House? Do you remember? You better open up your schema file right now and see if you can retrieve that information. George Washington dies on December 14th in 1799. So this is just like a short form of his life, some of the important events. And the first event is when he was born, and the last event is when he died. Now, if it's a timeline about somebody's life and they're still alive, the last event is like the present, what's happening right now. Okay, a caption. It's information under a photograph that tells more information about the picture. So here's a picture of Saturn, and underneath it, see how it's like a little box that says Saturn is the sixth planet from the sun. Saturn has many rings of rock and ice that orbit the planet. So it just gives us more information about the photograph. A diagram. A diagram is a special picture that shows parts of an object. So a diagram also has lots of labels. So see how this says an arm, this is a microscope, eyepiece, stage, base. It gives us more information about the picture because it has labeled the different pieces. Oh, and here we have the word label. And we know what a label is because we often practice labeling our pictures. And a label just gives us more information about the picture. It tells us exactly what something is. A text box. So text box kind of reminds me a little bit of a caption. And this one is just solids, liquids, and gases. And it just gives you more information. It's like a small little piece of information included in the text. A map. A map is a text feature. And we all know what a map is. And you learned about maps. Not last week because of spring break, but the week before in social studies. A map. Yep. So here's a map of the United States, and then this is a map of the world. And remember, the world is not actually flat like this. It is round. So a cutaway is kind of a cutaway is like a special type of diagram. It says a picture or diagram that shows the parts or layers of an object on the inside. So it's exactly what it says, cut away. It's like they cut something open and they want you to see the inside parts and the inside, what's labeled on the inside, what looks on the inside. So often I think about when we read books about the earth, there's usually cutaways. They cut out, they show us the inside of the earth because they want us to see the layers of the earth. Bullets. You've seen Miss Wagner do this in class before. Bullets. There are symbols used to make a list. Do you see these little dots where the arrow is pointing? This is a to-do list, and each dot is called a bullet, and it represents one more thing on the list. Sometimes people would even, use numbers. Graphs. Oh, a graph. You know what a graph is. We learned that in math. Here we see a bar graph. A pie graph. We studied those around Pi Day. This one is a picture graph, or sometimes it's called a pictograph. Same thing. And this is one that we didn't study, but it's called a line graph. Okay, so the next one is a sidebar. A sidebar is more information about a topic, usually placed in a box next or near the main body of the text. So a sidebar just gives you more facts or more information. This one says skeletal system, fun facts, and it's located kind of on the side of the page, on the outside of it, and it's a long bar like this one is. And it just gives you more information. And that is the end. So, that was the intro to our text features. We are going to be looking at more text features throughout the end of this week. We're even going to go on a text feature scavenger hunt. So, see ya then.